We start each episode with a thanks, with acknowledgement to our listeners, to our sponsors, and our patrons. I wanted to let you know that we are 100% sincere. We would not be able to do this without your support. We love you guys. We have the best listeners. Honestly, I can say through our interactions, some of our listeners have become what I would consider friends. If you're a listener and you haven't already, hop on Discord, join us on our Discord server, shoot me a message, I'll send you an invite. We'd love to have you there. And an extremely special shout out to our boss level patrons, Christopher and Patrick. You guys are the best. All right, so JD, be honest. Are you tapped out on quarantine intros?
No way, man. I got ideas coming out my ears for intros. For example, there's this one where I get super meta and start breaking the fourth wall, referring to the intro itself until everyone's all twisted around trying to figure out what the hell I'm even talking about.
Huh. I don't know if that's going to work, man. Sounds like... Oh, sorry. Let me say that line again. Huh. I don't know if that's going to work, man. Sounds a bit out there.
But wait, there's more. I have this line for you where you're all hesitant about the bit, like it's not going to work, and then you even stutter and like have to redo it. And then there's like a quote that's like, "It's a bit out there." Oh man, dude, it is super funny stuff.
That doesn't really sound that funny.
I mean, I think it'd be more funny, and I'd like it more if I had a line.
Done. You've just logged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. It's the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And Danny.
And hello. Welcome. Guys.
Hi.
I'm so tired of the quarantine. And I think it's going to last for the rest of our lives.
Can I just say something? I went back into the office today for the first day. And I got to the office. Everything was dark. And there was two of us there. Two people in the office. At least it was
Did it feel
quiet.
like when you had to go back to school for whatever reason when you were like in elementary school during the summer and like for your mom had to get something?
Yes, and it's like empty.
And it's so creepy and
Or
feels
it
so
feels
unnatural.
It feels like in those zombie games when you're walking around a building that you're kind of familiar with and you're like, no one's there. That's what it felt like.
I'm sorry, that's how the whole world feels like now.
It's so bizarre. I just hope that when all this is over, someone finds my body and I have some really good environmental storytelling going on through my level. You know?
Yeah.
I hope I have a note that clearly I wrote like at my point of death.
I'm sorry. Are you guys
reading it?
Are you guys not carrying around voice recorders so you can leave voice memos with your body wherever you die?
No, I've been writing them on paper.
I've been hiding mine in weird places, and you have to do some jump puzzles to get to them.
Okay, let's do this. Live from the 3-Bit Gamer Show. The news. Okay, our news this week is brought to us by Crave Cookies. You can find them at cravecookies.com. Crave Cookies is this cool little cookie shop here in Midvale, Utah. And if you're in the area, you have to stop by and just get some amazing cookies. They have the chilled raspberry cheesecake cookie. That is a cookie with cheesecake, not frosting, cheesecake on top of it. They've got the Brookie, the Rockstar, and they have churros. And I have a fun teaser. The proprietor may or may not be having a little baby this week.
Yeah, so excited for him.
Yeah, Trent, who you guys know, who's been on the show a couple times, he is having a baby this week, so we might not hear from him for a while. But if you guys are in the neighborhood, go get a cookie and support Trent's baby.
Trent's baby.
That's what I was building toward. How did you not see that coming? Peterson, why don't you kick us off? Because this is something near and dear to your heart.
Okay, so I play a lot of Warzone, despite what the game has been trying to... The game has been trying to stop me from playing it, but I keep going back.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this game was already at or around 100 gigs. 100 gigs.
Oof.
Too many.
It's way too many. I mean, I download some indie games that are like not even a gig, and I love them. Right, 100 gigs. So they did a 40 gig update. They don't care. People have been mad about this. They even came out and did a statement. They were like, "Well, I know people are complaining about the size of the game, especially console users, because they're like, my console doesn't have room for the game, and I have to buy an extra hard drive, and it doesn't have enough room for the game." And they're like, "So sorry, we're working on it, but this patch is going to be pretty big. There's some bug fixes to it." But luckily, so 40 gigs, they gave us 2 new maps, a bunch of new vehicles, some new guns, a bunch of new skins. So that's, I mean, you can see how you get 40 gigs out of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
still
for
a lot, though.
Yeah, except for none of that's true. We got no new map. We got a couple new gun skins, a couple skins up, and like their battle pass, and like that's it. That's it. There was not. I booted the game up. There's not 40 gigs of content there, and it was the buggiest I've had it be so far.
It's
The
just
game
getting
is now-
worse.
Yes, and they're going to need another 40 gigs to fix all the bugs they just introduced to it. What are they doing? What are they doing?
This
I'm
is
seriously
obviously
asking
a
you, what are they
social
doing?
experiment. It's a social experiment. They're trying to see if they can get people to legitimately put a terabyte game on their machine. They're pushing to see how far they can go, how much data they can take up on a machine. I'm just curious. I would like to know how many games have been collectively deleted to make way for just Warzone updates. Like, there's like a graveyard of all these tiny little games that are like, oh, I guess I won't see it again. And you're like, yeah, sorry, I got 40 gigs of bugs. I gotta make way. I don't know, dude.
The big fat guy on the airplane just marching down the aisle, bumping into everyone, sits
taking
down
both
in the
armrests.
Does not care. That's what
Does
Warzone
not care.
is.
Yeah. That is. Oh my god. So this next one, Peterson. Actually, you do this one too because it seems like this was something you were stoked on.
Yeah. So we got announced another Star Wars game. Right? This is what we wanted. Give us a bunch of Star Wars games. This is actually some good-ish news. It's a Star Wars fighter game. So you're playing first person. You're a starfighter on either the good side or the bad side. There's single player and multiplayer modes. So people have been clamoring for a Star Wars fighter game for a long time. Now the I guess the bad news is it's coming from EA, right? We know that they've got a shoddy history at best, especially with Star Wars titles. And it's the same team that made the Battlefront games, the new ones, which if you remember right, those were not great, right? There was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement because Battlefront 1 and 2, the original, were incredible. I loved them. I thought they were great. So when they announced they were putting out new ones, played a little bit of both of them, they didn't sink their teeth. They just felt empty. And so same team.
You probably played the whole game. They were so tiny.
So tiny.
Dude, I love that in this article, the company, it specifically called out, quote, that everything in the game will be earned solely through gameplay. Because if you guys remember the Battlefront controversy that you couldn't play Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader unless you'd played a cumulative 40 hours of the game and spent all the currency you earned during those 40 hours on literally nothing, that was how long it would take you to save up the currency needed to buy those characters, or you could shell out $20 and you could get them right away. So obviously the company's like, wait. Don't jump to conclusions. I guarantee you that's a fucking lie. There's no way.
No, they'll add like a battle pass or something.
Yep.
They'll add a battle pass. But I think they're very hesitant because last time they introduced a Star Wars game with microtransactions, it launched legislation to be implemented across the world. So I think they're hesitant because that's not what you want.
Dude, I think the fact that they are focusing that this is a multiplayer game, so we have mentioned it on this episode. We've mentioned it in Dear Game Devs before, and I'm sure EA heard us and then ignored us, which to their own peril. Don't ignore us, guys. We got our thumbs on the industry. But the idea that they are like, well, we're gonna roll out what everyone's been clamoring for, which is a Star Wars space fighter game, and people loved those, and we're gonna focus exclusively on multiplayer. They're like, like as a throwaway line, there will probably be some single player, which means there will be like a tutorial, and they'll call it a single player campaign. But
cutscene, just the one.
The intro cutscene, they're like, that's your single player game, dummies.
It's gonna have some QuickTime events, and then that's the single player.
But I think that EA has shown us that they don't know how to do multiplayer properly, because what they're doing is leaning on the Star Wars IP to do all the heavy lifting and selling the game, and they're like, just make it like put a fucking put a Star Destroyer in it and put a Stormtrooper in it, and the idiots will be drooling for it. They don't give a shit. Just make a barely passable game and slap a Star Wars skin on it, and it'll work. And the fact that they're focusing on multiplayer is guarantees that they're going to focus on the wrong things. The things that made what was the latest Jedi game that came out, Fallen Order, work so well and do so well as a single was because it was a single player game, and they focused on the story, they focused on the characters, they focused on the world. I don't know, man. I just feel like it's going to be garbage, and it's so disappointing because people have been begging for this for like 2 decades, and they roll it out and they're like, hey, it's going to be EA. It's going to be very EA.
My prediction is that this is actually a very fun game to play, but it is extremely short. I'm talking...
Oh, you're talking about the multiplayer or the single player?
All of it. Like, you play through the content in less than 10 hours. That's my prediction. It is a very short... It's really great, but you're like, oh, that's it? I'm done? And the multiplayer, if I understand correctly, I think it was like multiplayer campaigns. So, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's
that I would be slightly more into. But, I mean, it's just like, at that point, when I hear multiplayer campaigns, I feel like it's someone trying to chase Destiny.
Yeah.
And
we saw
maybe they'll pull it
Anthem,
out
too, and that was another Destiny chaser. It just didn't work. EA needs to stop trying to chase that.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. So some good news, something that I am so excited about. They just announced. You guys know this survival game I've been obsessed with, Frostpunk.
Yeah.
They just announced a Frostpunk board game. It's the same guys that developed the board game for 11-Bit Studios. They're the guys that made this, and the last game they made, This War of Mine, which I played a little bit of, and it was extremely depressing.
It's so hard too.
It's really punishing.
Me and my daughter died a couple times, and then I was like, how many times do I have to kill myself and my daughter? They made a board game. The same guys that made a board game for that, Glass Cannon Unplugged. They are going to be making the Frostpunk game as well. I actually haven't looked. Let's look up This War of Mine, the board game, on BGG, because I haven't seen if it's actually pretty well reviewed. But I feel like
it seemed like it was well reviewed.
Yeah, I just feel like it's got an 8.5 on. It's 7.9 on BGG, which is insanely good. So the content matters. The subject matter is really good. The video game itself of Frostpunk is laid out like a board game. It's got a playing board. So I'll definitely be checking this out. I'm really excited. I just hope that people that play with me will be very patient, because if it's anything like the Frostpunk video game, I will be taking 5 minutes for my turn.
Frostpunk, the video game, is not a turn-based game.
It is when I play it. I do something and then I pause it and stare at it for 20 minutes, and then I unpause it. I'm like, well, that turn lasted for a while. I don't
She's
know.
like,
I feel like
you're not taking turns. What do you mean that turn? And he's like, yeah, no, I do an action, I let it go, and then I pause again, find out my next turn.
yeah, you're supposed to pause every 15 seconds, right? Ugh, the game is going on forever.
Longest game I've ever played. 10 out of 10.
I think it'll be better playing with multiple people because it will allow multiple souls to carry the burdens of the decisions that you actually have to make in Frostpunk. I think this will be a super funny game to drop on people out of nowhere. We're like, oh, it's board game night. And you're like, here's Frostpunk. Welcome to darkness.
And it's all like sad and cold and depressing. Hard decisions. Bad outcomes.
Dude, it's great. I'm going to have a board game night in like December this year, and I'm going to leave all the windows open. I'm going to run the AC. I'm going to leave the freezer open. Man, we're going ice cold.
No, you do the fire pit in the backyard. You all sit around the fire pit in the snow. That's Frostpunk.
That is the meta of the Frostpunk board game. I love that. Okay, and then we're going back down. This is a roller coaster of news, but you know, at 2020, any up is a win. So roller coasters are kind of good. So this is really bleak. Activision and EA are in discussions. They are looking at Warner Brothers Interactive. These are the guys that are behind. You probably recognize their title from just about any time you see a Batman game or a DC game. Oh, also all of the Lego games, the Batman Arkham Asylum games are published under the Warner Brothers Interactive label. Hitman, the Middle Earth games, like the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games, these are all WB properties. Harry Potter, they own Harry Potter. Things like Harry Potter and DC and Middle Earth will not necessarily pass to whoever buys their properties, but they will be allowed to license them. So you can expect that all of those things will be part and parcel of this sale. And who's champing at the bit, who's licking their sharpened teeth, but Activision, EA, and Take-Two.
Uh-oh.
Fuck. All those games I just listed, if any of you like them, I'm sorry, because they're all fucked now.
Dude. EA, Activision, and Take-Two. Let that sink in. These guys have all been in our news segments in the last month for bad things.
Not just bad things, terrible things. Not only do they like ruin the souls that have the misfortune of working for them, but they ruin the properties, the beloved properties that they gobble up in their quest to own every video game known to man. So I also noticed, also an SLC studio here called Avalanche that I thought had closed. These were the guys that were working on Disney Infinity, and once that game shuttered, because who knew that buying toys alongside a video game would not catch on long term. But they closed down, and it was such a shame because they were like really talented devs, and I knew some of them, and they were here in Salt Lake, and it was really lame. And then I jumped on their Wikipedia page once I saw that this sale involved this their studio, and they reformed like 6 months after Disney Infinity, and they started working on a Cars game. And I was like, what the hell? And then Danny tells me there's hundreds of people that work there. What the hell?
I'm friends with so many of them. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Why are they hiding? Danny, that's the question.
Yeah.
Why are they hiding?
They're hiding because the IP they're working on hasn't been announced.
Oh. Have you talked to them about this at all? Are they worried about how this is going to come out? Or are they like, meh?
So I haven't actually heard about this very much from anyone who's worked there. I think that for the most part, they're kind of keeping their heads down and working on that IP. Just basically because they had to do a big like design reform on some stuff they were working on. So hopefully they come out of this one better than last time, because sometimes it just comes down to a CEO deciding that you're not worth keeping open. And It doesn't have to do with the quality of your work or anything like that. It just comes down to seeing some numbers on a spreadsheet.
And a CFO looking for a sweet $1 million bonus for firing people.
Exactly right.
I can
yeah,
guarantee you, if Activision buys this studio, they're going to shutter some small studios. They're gonna close some stuff down.
Well,
That's their MO.
Yeah, that's what they
Activision
do.
is also having a little bit of a rough time anyway because their stranglehold on Blizzard isn't going well. It's not being received well by the fans, much less anyone who actually works there.
You
Nope.
think?
Riot is like right up the coast from Blizzard, and they pay way better, and they're sniping devs. Like it's
Well, and they're improving. Like Riot is not like the black mark that it once was. Like even just 12 months ago, it's better place to work. It's a more like people, like reasonable people would consider working there again.
Exactly. So when it comes down to it, they also lost Bungie. Bungie went independent, so they lost their other big like seller right there. And then just to add kind of salt to that wound, Bungie then was like, by the way, our game is free now. Goodbye.
Wait
But
a
meanwhile,
second.
Bobby Kotick's pulling in a cool $250 million.
Yeah.
Wait
What?
a second.
Where's the disconnect there, dude? You're telling
So-
I'm sorry. I thought capitalism perfectly rewarded people who were competent and did a good job and punished those who did a bad job. Are you telling me it's the
Is
opposite?
killing it.
Huh. Capitalism's been having a hell of a year here in 2020.
It really has.
Danny, before we go down this rabbit hole, I actually want to go down a different tangent because this Avalanche thing has made me realize that since I used to be more tapped into the game development industry here in Salt Lake, that I know next to nothing now. I am so far removed from it. You are my closest connection now to the game development industry here in Salt Lake. So can you give us, and I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot here, can you give us kind of a skinny rundown of some of the bigger studios or some of the bigger players here that are kind of in the valley or kind of that like EAE your students look at when they're graduating?
Yeah, of course. So back when I was an undergrad, it was EA Salt Lake, and they shuttered, and Avalanche, and they shuttered. I'm really glad that they came back and they managed to reform. WB did really throw in the the safety raft and hired back a lot of those same developers. So some of the people that are working there now in senior positions have been there for 20, 30 years. Working in games. So the game dev scene here in Utah is very, very healthy. We also have The Void down in Lehigh area, which works on VR experiences.
Like live VR, like walking around stuff too, right?
These things are absolutely wild to go do, by the way, if you have not done one. I've taken my family to do like their Ghostbusters experience.
That's the one I did. The
It's
marshmallow
so good.
smell?
Yeah.
My mind.
There was a horror one I did with 3 of my friends that was just phenomenal, called Nicodemus. One of their lead designers there, he's just one of the best dudes ever. But they essentially are contracting out with Disney right now for some of their on-site VR experiences, largely Star Wars based.
Yeah, they've got a Star Wars one in California by
They
Disney.
do, yeah. They do. So The Void has a hand in that, and they are growing very steadily. I also don't hear this very often, but I sometimes get the reminder that Twitch has an office here.
Yeah. Jenna just saw a job there that she had applied to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had no idea we had a Twitch Salt Lake office. Do you know what they do here, Danny? Like what they focus on?
Though I think it has to do with some of the back-end code.
Ooh.
And then maybe some other stuff, but I'm not too tuned into Twitch as much as I am into... we have Wildworks. Wildworks is
it used to be Animal Jam.
Yeah, they do Animal Jam. They're working on a new, kind of older MMO called Feral for about 13 plus.
Dang.
I'm in the open beta for it, and it's actually very beautiful. It's very well done.
I know that they shrunk a little bit because one of the folks that we had on our podcast a million years ago, Kaz, who won one of the cosplay contests at BlizzCon once, she actually worked as an artist there. An artist, right, Peterson?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she was part of a bigger layoff. Did they just tighten up and now they're kind of re-expanding again? Or do you know kind of what their situation is? I know that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I did some interviews with them a while ago. Time means nothing in 2020, so I don't remember the month. But they are doing a little bit of expanding here and there, largely as they are technically an independent studio. They are capped at around 100, 200 devs. Like, they're not very big. So they are basically working on building up Feral from here. I've got a friend who's a senior writer on it, and they were looking at writers for support in that role a little while ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that tangent. I was just curious, and I'm glad to hear, checking in on it, that the Utah/Salt Lake game dev scene is still going strong. I saw you guys, the EAE program, just picked up a Princeton award. You guys are first again. You've been going back and forth with USC for like 10 years, haven't you?
We have. And that's honestly just the big players I mentioned. There are so many indie developers here in Utah, like myself included, that are forming together to create little startups, littler games that we're all working on. Like, we're already on our next projects, just going ground up right now, because where else are we going to go?
I was telling Peterson, I have this dream. If I ever won the lotto, I would just start an indie game dev incubator, because I know there's a billion of you guys coming out of the program every year, super talented, super motivated, and hungry. And I'm like, if I could just give those people cash if they pitched me games, and then just, that would be the dream.
That was literally so cool. What my friends playing Digimon were saying earlier in our voice chat. That exact sentiment. Yeah,
that's what, because I talked about this a couple weeks back, is Team 17, the guys behind Worms. That's what they've done recently, is expand their company into publishing very small. I'm talking studios with 2 developers, very small indie titles. And Monster Sanctuary, one of the games that I've been playing recently that I absolutely adore, is one of these indie titles that was made by 2 guys. And I'm like, I know damn well the folks coming out of the U are just as good, if not better, than any indie artists and any indie devs out there. And they just, if you could just give them money and resources and just let them run with it, shit, you'd be a billionaire.
That's what all of our chats are about. That's the number one thing we're looking at right now, is just getting funding so that we can get off the ground.
I wish I had it. I'm so sorry I don't have it, you guys. Just hold on. I'm scratching lottos right now.
I'm just waiting outside your house with my hand just outstretched.
Money, please.
Money, please. I'll make you a video game if you give me money.
It's just easier if you give it to her, JD.
Yeah, it's just easier. Okay, so this is actually a funny segment. I want to do a bit of a deep dive on these studios that are considering buying Warner Brothers Interactive and all the games under their label. I will put a caveat that I don't want to joke about Lego games. I don't even want to talk about them, because I don't want to bring that evil down upon such a beloved game series. So let's just put Lego in this like quaint.
Don't you put that evil box on me, JD.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. And just put that in a box. We're not going to joke about Lego, but let's talk about what EA, Activision, or Take-Two would do once they had acquired these properties. Let's play this out to its natural conclusion. I'll start with EA. So EA is going to grab these games, and they're going to be really stoked, but they have to make them EA. They have to fit in the EA family, or they get shuttered. So first off, the next Batman game is going to be way different. The Arkham whatever, it doesn't matter. Just call it Arkham Asylum 2, because it's EA now, and we're phoning it in. Batman's Cave is just a store where you pay to unlock all the different gadgets in the game. So the whole game is open and accessible, but good luck beating any of it without these gadgets that are all locked behind a paywall.
It's been all locked by the Riddler,
Alfred,
who is you now have to pay it vending machine style to get any of your loot that you already own, because you're Batman. Right?
Okay,
you already own all of it.
The thing that Peterson just explained is exactly what the comic book writer that they hired to, write the story was saying to the NBA, who's waving his hand during the whole thing, like, yeah. Just tell me how we can make the Batcave, cost money. Come on, you fucking nerd. Quit talking about this Riddler shit. Who cares about that? How can we get the Batcave to be a store? Nerds. They're comic books. They're stories. They're retcons. Nerds. Also, Mortal Kombat is free now. So that's kind of cool. People are going to be excited that Mortal Kombat's free. Only has 2 fighters. And it takes 40 hours to unlock a new one. But
you have to win the game with each fighter to unlock the next fighter. And then you have to win the game with that fighter to unlock the next fighter. If you want to unlock all 40 fighters...
Yeah, but each fighter you can get for a low price of $1.99 per. I mean, it's like $2. It's like less than you spend on a cup of coffee. You're telling me you don't want a cool fighter? Come on, you get Sub-Zero. He's so cool.
Oh,
but why would you just get Sub-Zero when you can get Gold Sub-Zero for $4.99?
Just pay that extra $2. You get the extra skin.
Breaking news! Big EA sale. It's now $3.99. So hop on this while it lasts, you guys.
Oh my gosh! Suck in all.
What do you guys think EA will do with WB?
I think that it's going to go the way of BioWare, and they are going to open up a new studio of all newbies, going to give them the most beloved IP they can, and then they're going to release Mass Effect Andromeda again, but this time it's Batman. Then the studio is going to be shuttered, and they all have to upgrade to the Frostbite engine. There you go.
Yep.
And we're going back to Origin.
They make Rocksteady put the next Arkham game on the Frostbite engine.
Yeah. They have
completely doesn't work at all.
Nope. They're still going to make him do it. Maybe they can lend them some Anthem devs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now because so it's developed on Unreal. So they're like, you're fine. It's basically Unreal, just a little different.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that Danny's point that now all these games they're like, can you do the Lego games on Frostbite?
Like,
if you can't, you got to get the fuck out of the studio.
You gotta run.
Yeah, mine is similar to Danny's. Less, I'd say less positive than yours, Shady. I think they announce the new Batman game. They release a trailer. It looks really great. And
they say it's an engine.
And then they shutter it 2 years later. They do that 2 more times before they released a Batman game that nobody wanted. It is a Batmobile racer.
No.
Dude, a Batmobile racer. That's what EA does after they sit on the Batman game license for 5 years. They give us a Batmobile racer.
It fails, then they don't make another Batman game for another 5 years. So we're looking at like 2030 plus before we get a good Batman game.
Dude, this is way darker than I had considered. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be the end of these games as you know it. And now I'm like, oh God, you guys have made some really valid points. Fuck. Okay, so I'll give my apparently lighthearted take on Activision. I think Mortal Kombat will now be cross-platform. Everyone's going to be really excited because you can play Mortal Kombat with everyone. However, Mortal Kombat now is developed mobile first. It is very important that everyone has Mortal Kombat on their phones. That's how the game is primarily designed, and everyone else just has to struggle with it. So Mortal Kombat's a phone game now. Don't you have phones?
Oh my gosh.
Also, I think Activision, unlike EA, does not respect IPs, and they're cheap, and I can see them refusing to pay the DC license to Batman because they're like, I'm not going to get taken. Bobby Kotick needs another yacht, and he's not going to pay for a stupid Batman license when the game's all ready to go. Just dye his suit a different color, call him Bat Guy, change it to, I don't know, Arc Hat City, and everything's the same. So basically, the next Arkham Asylum game is Arkham Asylum in absolutely every way, but they never once say the word Batman because Activision is looking to save a penny on the licensing. That's all I got. I'm sure yours are going to make me way sadder. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I was thinking that they're going to systematically but very effectively lay off or fire or otherwise force out all of the old guard at these old studios, essentially convincing them that it's time to retire or move on, then replace them with their own figureheads so that they can go into a more unified model with Battle.net and kind of those like competitive games going online. I'm making you way too sad, aren't I?
No, man, I need, you know what? The good people of our podcast listenership need to hear this, Danny. So tell us the future, because people need to hear this.
They're probably just going to try to get them on the Battle.net server so that you can jump between the games like Call of Duty more often, and there will be a Battle Royale mode and everything.
Mortal Kombat Battle Royale, you land and it's just guts and just fucking blood and people's brains flying everywhere, and you're like, yeah, this is what I wanted.
Everyone just goes, wow, Fortnite got dark.
But slightly cooler somehow.
Somewhat.
So my take was actually very similar to Danny's. Activision, yes, they buy the studio, they shutter it, they give it to Treyarch and Infinity Ward, the license for Batman, and we get Call of Duty Gotham. We get Call of Duty Gotham within 2 years, and it's just a Call of Duty game with Batman skins. You know, it doesn't make sense. You have the freaking Penguin running around shooting a machine gun. Doesn't matter. He doesn't have an umbrella gun. He just has a regular pistol in his hand. He's got a Desert Eagle just shooting at people.
And everyone's like, the Penguin shouldn't technically be able to even hold a gun like that. And they're like, dude, do you think we care at all?
You can't see his hand. You can only see the barrel, so it doesn't matter because it's obviously a first-person game. It doesn't go over well, and they just sit on it for a while until they buy a small studio or hand it over to Blizzard, and they say, Blizzard, you're making Batman games now. And Blizzard says, what? And we want you to retcon Gotham into several of your existing titles. So Overwatch is... and it just becomes this bastardization of the studios. And that's what I think happens. And as you mentioned, Bobby Kotick and the stock, the shareholders get a huge boost because they bought this studio for $4 billion, this really great studio, and then laid off everybody except for a handful. There's a handful that stay on for consulting purposes for a year, and then they lay them off as well, and a few Blizzard people just for good measure.
So our last one here on the list, and these guys that don't really have the money, or maybe they do. I don't know anymore. To buy this, but Take-Two, they own 2K, they own Rockstar, they own God, what is the last one? Oh, Bethesda. Do they not?
I'm just scrolling through on my feed and seeing what they've made.
Yeah, so like all of the Fallout games and the Elder Scroll games, I believe, all fall under Take-Two, right?
Rockstar, 2K, Private Division, Ghost Story, and Social Point.
Okay.
I know what some of those are.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that I just think this is going to happen is there's going to definitely be, if Take-Two takes over, there's definitely going to be a casino in every game. It just doesn't matter. There has to be a casino component of every game, be it Batman or be it Mortal Kombat. You got to be able to spin a slot machine. Like, that's a basic. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you guys have any?
I think Take-Two Well, they get these studios. So if you remember, I think it was last week. Take-Two are the geniuses that. What did they do? They not only closed down a game studio, but for the guys making Kerbal Space Program 2, they shut them down. They canceled the contract and then poached their staff. So they do something similar because they just want, they don't want the studio per se. They want access to the IPs. And actually, this is my most positive one. I think we get a few good titles from them. I think they're different because Take-Two doesn't have like a bread and butter genre. They do, if you look at like the stuff that they have their fingers in, they're all over the place, right? So we see a few good games out of this, but they do it in a real shady way, right? They poach. So essentially they'll get rid of the studio in name, poach their devs, put them on their current studios that they exist, and they just want the IPs.
Right.
But we'll get some good ones. They'll give us good games.
Yeah. Like the games might have a couple more bugs, but
definitely.
Just like a couple more bugs, and their E3 presentations will not be like as big and punchy because it'll just kind of be like, oh yeah, we're here too. Take-Two, get it? And yeah, the cannibalization is probably what I see happening the fastest with them.
All right, well, if everyone isn't completely just depressed on the fate of many beloved game titles, let's just move on. Did you guys know? I didn't realize the first game that Warner Brothers Interactive published, and it seems like the reason they were founded was Enter the Matrix.
Really?
Yeah, so they came. I may be completely wrong on this, but I was just looking at all the games that they published, and Enter the Matrix, I believe, was the first game.
Wow.
Let's see, Warner. The Matrix on. I'm so sorry. The Matrix Online was their first game.
Big hit.
Dude, the people that played that game though would tear your throat out for being sarcastic about how good it was because they are passionate about it.
My apologies.
But yeah, they
please don't tear my throat out.
Yeah, please don't do it. We need him kind of on this podcast. Okay, so the next bit of news, and this is our last bit of news, and it's actually more uplifting. PlayStation 5,
Woo!
Sony, yeah, that's our roller coaster. We're ending at the top here. PlayStation 5, Sony had a PlayStation 5 presser, and they revealed the console and a bunch of games and what it's going to look like. They actually didn't talk about price, unless I'm mistaken.
They did not.
So we don't know that.
They definitely did not.
Everyone asked what the price was in the Twitch chat, and then they were like, anyway, stream over, bye-bye.
Peace. It's probably really ridiculous and way more than you got from... Okay, so I have to say I watched the
reveal. Are you asking
reveal...
about the price? I think you're breaking up.
What was that? Get some static.
Get over.
Did you guys watch the initial reveal trailer though? Like the if you go to like the PlayStation site, like the first one they played, it is 3 minutes long, and the first first minute and a half are just a billion little gray balls rolling around randomly.
Yep. It's so fun.
I was like, dude, I paused Thor for this. I was like prepping for the show, and I was like, I better watch all these trailers, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I was like, Jenna, hey, look at this thing. And then we're sitting there, I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed to turn the movie back on. This is ridiculous. What is this? So it was a little silly. And then they revealed the console, and then just like went over all of its curves in an oddly sexual trailer that went on probably too long.
Real sexy for a Wi-Fi router.
Yeah. It looks like a Wi-Fi router. Guess what? It's like cool. It's like whatever. I don't need a 2-minute sex video about it. And I especially would like if the 2-minute sex video didn't have a 1-minute prelude with random balls rolling everywhere. What? But the console looks pretty cool.
Here's what I'll
feel
say.
like
I have a weird take about this because I think a lot of people crapped on the on what it looks like. They're like, "This is the stupidest looking thing." There's been a lot of memes. I actually think it looks kind of cool. It looks different. It's curvy and rounded, and I think it looks different enough that I'm into it.
Mhm.
I also think that gamers wouldn't like it no matter what it looks like. If it looked like the old one, they'd be like, "Oh, you guys suck. You can't design anything." I don't think you could do anything to meet gamers' expectations with the PS5.
I mean, I tell myself that every day about meeting gamers' expectations. You just can't.
No.
Mm-mm.
And I feel like, who cares? It's a console. It's like, how cool is your VCR look? Who gives a shit? Like, it's
they're gonna buy it.
Or when you're playing a video game, are you looking at the screen or are you looking at the console? Who cares?
Just staring at the console. You're so ugly. I hate you.
I
hate you
won't.
so
I
much.
won't buy you because you're too damned ugly.
Spit at it every couple minutes.
You cover it with just a sheet or like a different skin. You're like, no, I don't even look at this stupid thing. Hide it behind your TV. Guess what? If it bugs you that much, put it behind your freaking TV. It's just, Peterson, did you notice the controller looked slightly chonkier?
I did.
Is that better or worse for you?
You know what? I actually kind of like the PlayStation controller right now. If I had to rank them, I would say the Switch Pro controller is my favorite for like how it fits in my hand. Then the PlayStation 4 controller, and then the Xbox controller. And not saying Xbox controllers are bad. I just like the PlayStation controller feel. A little chunkier. If it's a lot chunkier, I don't think I'm going to like it as much. But it might not be the worst thing ever because, I don't know, as I get older, maybe my hands will be a little less bendy.
Maybe. You're
Okay,
like one of those people
definitely.
that turns into stone slowly over the course of their life.
No, I don't have any sort of degenerative disease. My hands just don't work very well. I don't know how else to explain it.
I'm sure it's nothing medical. It's just something that I happen to have as like a condition with my body.
It's just me, okay? This is part of the Peterson package.
I have to read these specs from Tech Radar. I was like, what would be funnier, to do these in an Alex Jones voice, a surfer voice, or like a tech bro voice? We'll just go with tech bro voice.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny. This is really in the article. This is verbatim. The PS5 is rocking an AMD Zen 2-based CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 gigahertz, 18 gigs of GDDR6 memory, and a custom RDNA 2 AMD GPU that puts out 10.28 T-flops of processing power.
Bro.
Did that make sense to anyone?
No.
You lost me after 3 words.
I make video games. I don't know like half of those words.
I was like, the amount of Googling I would have to have 7 different tabs open to understand this one sentence. Are you kidding me?
Master's degree, useless. I don't know anything about computers anymore.
We had Spencer one time explain to us teraflops. Never understood it at the time. I still don't understand it. I've been using the word for like 2 years now. It's nonsense to me. It sounds like a made up nonsense word. But
T-flop sounds like a SoundCloud rapper for sure.
Yeah, you're right.
Yo, what up? This is T-flops.
Your boy T-flops.
Okay, so there's also a disk drive version and a digital only version, which doesn't have a disk drive, which seems silly to me because the other feature of this console is that it is fully compatible, backwards compatible with just about each and every PS4 game ever made. Unless you have all of those PS4 games digital and you didn't buy a single one hard copy, why would you get to the digital only version is beyond me?
Because it's going to be $100 cheaper, and so you might be able to afford it.
Dude, that's so silly though. Like, you save $100 up front, but the giant library of just used games. I mean, hell, I know people buy games on like Facebook Marketplace and stuff used. There's like a huge marketplace for used games, and you wouldn't have access to those because you tried to save $100 on the digital only. I feel like there's no value add or value prop for that console. It's so weird to me.
Yep, I agree.
And then the other thing that actually jumped out to me about this article, the Tech Radar article about this, other than all the lines about T-flops, was so extensive, so well designed, so laid out, so well written and comprehensive that I would recommend it to everyone. I'll post it in our Discord chat, or you can just look up Tech Radar PlayStation 5 news. It's like a whole feature they have. It's really nice. You go through different parts of it, but one of the nuggets that I found buried in this gigantic feature was that they give you this console gives you more control over what you can install. So you could, for example, and I don't think this is going to be across the board on every game, but they have, baked this functionality in that you could, if you wanted to play Fortnite, you don't have to and you just want to play the multiplayer, you can just download Fortnite multiplayer. You don't have to download what is Save the World, is that what's called, Peterson? The single player mode.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to so you can download separate, you can break out the games depending on what you want to download. And we were just talking about people that are having to delete games because of how much space Warzone's taking up. It would be kind of nice to have the flexibility, for example, if you have GTA 5 on your machine and you only play GTA 5 online, deleting the single player game would be huge. That'd be at least 20, 30 gigs.
Dude,
so I think that's really cool.
That's partially why the Warzone patch is so big, because I only play Warzone. I didn't buy Call of Duty, and so I can't play the other stuff. But
are they updating
the update contains stuff from the other game modes that I don't even have access to because I haven't paid for it. It's such a mess.
See, this is really the fashion forward stuff that you only get from a game studio. This is why a company like Google, I brought it back to Stadia. I do it every week. Every goddamn week we're talking about Stadia.
Every chance I get. Screw you, Stadia.
Never forget how bad you suck, Stadia. But yeah, this is why when they came into the marketplace without knowing these are tiny little niche complaints, but every gamer has to deal with them, and they're trying to solve them with this console, and I'm sure the Xbox is going to try to rise to meet this occasion as well. I think it's really cool. I'm really stoked. I think the fact that they're not pressing this on people, but they are releasing it with a huge bunch of features. The other part of this that I haven't touched on at all, and I didn't really look into that much, is the games. Danny, you were saying that there is a slew of awesome indie games. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Absolutely. So I watched the entire press release all the way through, as I hope many of the people listening did. It was absolutely worth it. But something that really caught my eye was how many indies were being brought to the stage as flagship titles. Things that with any other console release, I just haven't seen this many stylized, artistic games that look very unique and different from each other on such a big stage. Normally, with the new console, you would expect more and more realistic graphics, more and more 4K, and whatever else kind of like high fidelity graphic bragging that you would see with every game. And while we did have a couple of those, including Resident Evil Village, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and of course Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, there were also some much smaller titles that I am just as, if not more, excited for. For example, Solar Ash from the guys who made Hyper Light Drifter. They are coming out with a new title. We've got Goodbye Volcano High, which is a narrative-driven game that has anthropomorphic humanoid dinosaur characters. That one just looked real interesting, I'll say. I'm not much for like dinosaurs and stuff like that, but the art style alone definitely piqued my interest. We've got Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Destruction All-Stars. Oh, and this is the one that everyone in Twitch was freaking out about. So you guys know how during a Twitch stream, when you're announcing a game, there's going to be tons of trolls in the comments saying, this looks terrible, this sucks.
Yeah.
All of that stopped when this game went announcement. The game Stray is a indie game where you play as a stray cat in a city occupied entirely by robots. And the cat has a little backpack.
Okay.
So this game has actually been in development for something like 6 years. It's not the first time that some have heard of it, but for it to stand up next to some of these big AAA titles and have that much hype surrounding it just for the opportunity to walk around a city as a cat, I think that's pretty cool. So kudos to PS5 for just bringing all of these littler games to such a big stage. I am genuinely so excited to play them. Personally, oh yeah?
Are these all exclusive to PlayStation then?
For the time being, yeah. We've also got like a couple coming in from the big studios like Deathloop. That will be from what it looks like PlayStation exclusive for the time being. Oh, and of course Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all of these guys are going to be releasing within the next year or so, with more to come in 2021 that people are pretty excited for. I wasn't actually planning on getting a PS5 right out of the gate, but between Stray and that Ghostwire Tokyo game where you fight like Japanese horror things, I'm so in.
Okay,
Dude,
for real, Stray looks awesome. I've been watching the video while you were talking.
So good.
It really does look great. You're just exactly what she said, a cute little cat with a backpack on in a robot world that's like really... it's kind of that standard neon lights, lots of pinks, lots of blues, but it looks amazing. I don't know what the gameplay is like at all, but it looks incredible.
The devs have even spoken about how, as a cat being the player, you have the ability to be somewhat unnoticed, but you can also annoy those in your surroundings by meowing incessantly. And as a cat owner, that is so relatable. So relatable. Wow.
Is this called Untitled Cat Game?
That's what it sounds like. Sad cat game a little bit, like with all of the people being gone, but I will definitely be picking it up day one.
Dude, that's amazing. I'm just so stoked. I feel like Sony and PlayStation knows how to get people like me and Danny off the sidelines. It's just to roll out a bunch of indies and be like,
exactly.
Here's what you could have. You could have all of these. I don't need Star Wars. I don't need any of that. I want more indies.
Yeah, I want to see these unique games with a different art style. Like it's cool to a point to see something that looks photo scanned, something that looks realistic. But honestly, those games were way more forgettable to me. In the grand scheme of the lineup, I remembered the ones that had weird art styles, the ones that were cool and beautiful and had a certain style to them that made them stand out.
Yep. Those are the games that like really take hold of your heart, and you will always talk about them positively. I'm looking at Annapurna Interactive because they're publishing Stray. And one of my favorite games that I've ever played, Gorogoa. Have you played that, Danny?
I haven't.
Oh, it is cool. Incredible, and the art is beautiful. You should, if you have a Switch, just get it and play it. It's a puzzle game.
I got my Switch right here. We're good.
It takes 3 to 5 hours to play through. It's never expensive, but it is beautiful. The puzzles are so clever, and it's just so different than anything I've played. It's one of those games that holds a soft spot in my heart because the art style was so unique. I mean, the whole thing was just unique, and I loved it. So. I'm excited for some of these games that you mentioned. Look fantastic.
They do.
I think there's a lot of exclusive. I think that's all I have on the PlayStation 5 news and kind of my reaction to it. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk before we go into kudos?
No, I'm just stoked. Sweet game.
I'm so stoked. I for one think it looks cool. I don't really care. I think it's pretty large, which that's my only major concern, but it doesn't look much bigger than it's a little bit bigger than a PlayStation 3. And we all got used to that chonky mother.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at mine right now and it takes up a quarter of my TV stand in here. So,
but look, they're going to get bigger before they get smaller because they're stepping it up in terms of what's inside these consoles now. And the tech right now, I mean, for what it is, they are small. right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
if you just keep upping yourself, one-upping yourself, then they're going to get bigger before they get smaller. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I think that's a good point. Something we've seen in just about every console generation is after about 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, they release a skinnier, slimmer version. And so that will be forthcoming. But yeah, like Peterson said, this is supposed to be such a step up in terms of 4K, ray tracing, all the fancy buzzwords you hear about. The game will look pretty. It will look very pretty on this. Okay, let's do this.
Simply nutritious, outrageously delicious. Kudos on yours, I'm yours.
All right, kudos is our positivity segment. Usually we do it before this episode has been going on for an hour, but here we are. Peterson, do you have a kudos for us this week?
Yes, I have an old, just like the nutritious candy bar. Kudos. This is an oldie. I watched a movie that's on HBO that I hadn't seen for a long time. The movie is called That Thing You Do. It's been out for a while because I remember my brother. This is a weird piece of Peterson history, but my youngest brother, when I was 14 and he was 4 years old, he was obsessed with the movie That Thing You Do as a 4-year-old. And so he watched it 2 to 3 times a day. Everyone in my family knew every line, type of thing. So I saw it on HBO, thought I'd watch it again for old time's sakes. It's a fantastic movie. It is a positive, feel-good movie. That's the type of movie you need right now. It is about a one-hit wonder band, and it's a true-ish story. It's a mashup of a couple different bands. It was written and directed by Tom Hanks while he was filming Forrest Gump. He wrote this. And it's about a small town, Erie, Pennsylvania band that stumbles upon a hit song that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the band breaks up, and they've got this one hit song, right? The One Hit Wonders, and the band's called the Wonders in the movie. It is a really great feel-good movie. The song, if you haven't seen it, the song is so catchy. You hear it 100 times and you don't get sick of it. So
good, because they played in the movie 60 different times.
Yes, over and over and over.
So it's got to
many
be
times.
catchy.
Yep. And so look, we need some positive stuff right now. This is a positive movie. You don't feel crappy watching it. It feels good. You know, it does have like its conflict arc, but it's short and it's not that impactful. It's just a fun, good movie. JD, you watched it. What do you think?
I watched it on your recommendation and absolutely holds up. And everything Peterson said is absolutely true. Like, I had never actually seen it before, so this was my first time seeing it. And so it's not like I even was viewing it through that veil of like nostalgia where I was like, oh yeah, I remember watching this. Completely fresh. It felt fresh. It didn't feel like out of touch or shitty, which I feel like when you go watch old movies, you're like, how many times am I going to do this during the movie?
Yeah.
Or just like kind of look awkwardly at the person I'm watching it with, like, ooh.
Yeah.
No, it's solid, dude. And it's like, it's funny. It's a feel good. I just dug it.
Yep.
So nice.
Danny,
do you have any kudos?
Yeah, I have a little one. This will actually kind of lead into something else I was going to talk about, but I want to give a kudos to Bungie, the guys who make Destiny. They had their big stream for their expansion announcements this last week, and they decided right before they were going to start, they did a countdown, and the countdown led right into a segment on their charity organization that they also run from Bungie. And then it was actually followed by 8 minutes and 46 seconds as a moment of silence for the George Floyd protests. And I know that a lot of game studios and just companies in general are coming out in support of Black Lives Matter and trying to show their support for this movement. But Bungie took it a step further in that their studio has been marching like up in Seattle. They have been putting their feet to the ground and they are backing up their words. And just that little action before their big announcement that they've been gearing up to for so long, that they decided to both recognize the struggles with COVID and these protests. I thought that was just a real class move from a company. So kudos to them. That was awesome.
Yeah. Anytime a company's actually backing up what they're doing instead of just saying and tweeting things and then forgetting about all those people that
Right.
they're claiming to support, I'm in. Yeah. So nice. So I think we're gonna have to go to the radio play, guys, because we're way over. So we've got a radio play for you guys. That's up next. This is a we all sat down and played a video game called COVID-19. It's a really quirky game. It's about like an outbreak. It's like a worldwide global pandemic outbreak, and you play as like the leader of a nation trying to prevent the outbreak. It's a crazy fictional, thing that's totally fictional and not real, and none of it could ever
not
really
based on
happen
reality.
in real life. No, none of it's based on reality. It's just like a fun, quirky thing that's not like plumbing the depths of the darkness.
Straight from the mind of
right
JD.
I'm doing fine, guys. No need to check on me. Wellness check? No, I'm fine. I'll tell the cop I'm fine. Okay, let's listen to that.
So I've been playing that new COVID game, right? And man, it is so hard.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now. I think I've almost beaten it, but man, that second wave is brutal. You have to save up so many hospital beds to get past that part of the game.
I mean, it's pretty hard, but if you play it right, you don't even need to do the second wave. Helps you save in hospital beds for later.
Wait. You can beat it without a second wave?
Oh, yeah. All you need to do is...
So when you say second wave, do you mean the second quarantine? Because that's where I'm at right now. I think I'm pretty close to winning, actually.
I'm sorry, second quarantine?
Yeah, like the first one was pretty long, I kept my people quarantined for a few days, but I tried to keep their spirits up by telling them the quarantine was fake and it was a hoax.
You did what?
Okay, well, you know how your hope stat drops when you impose the quarantine? So I figured if I told them how stupid and unnecessary it was, it would raise my hope stat. I mean, it kind of worked, and everyone went right back to work, but now my cases are going back up, and the game keeps telling me to do my second quarantine.
Wait. I'm so sorry. You seriously have to do a second quarantine while you're still in your first wave?
Yeah, you guys didn't have to?
No.
Oh my guys, this game is so hard. I had to have all my cops start beating people up, and it didn't even help.
Why? Why would that help anything?
Okay, give me a break, guys. It's my first playthrough. How did you guys beat it so easily? I just left it on normal difficulty.
Yeah, seriously, Danny, how did you beat it before the second wave?
Well, did you guys listen to your experts?
No, I don't want to read when I'm playing a video game. That's for nerds.
Yeah, I got sick of the dialogue boxes, so I just fired all the experts. I figured it would raise the hope stat, too.
Did it work?
Not really. It really actually made everything worse, and it made the game harder, I think.
Okay, so then you hired them back, yeah?
Danny, I can't just hire them back. I would have looked like the biggest idiot and so weak and so stupid.
Wait, is that even something the game keeps track of?
I mean, it's something I keep track of.
Peterson, this is so easy. All you have to do is listen to your experts, follow their advice, unite your population against the virus, and wait it out. It's super straightforward.
Okay, do you think there's a chance I could fix it now?
Well, to start, you could hire back your experts.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, wait, did you guys see this? It looks like there's an option to buy tear gas.
Peterson, it's a respiratory disease. Why would you need tear gas?
I don't know. I mean, I might need it later.
I don't think you're playing this game right at all, Peterson.
Okay. Does the second wave always start at the same time? Like, can I just keep the first wave going until I get to the second wave? I mean, is that Kobayashi Maruing the game?
I mean, technically, I guess, if you don't mind, like, 300,000 of your people dying.
300,000. I have what, like 300 million of them? More? I don't know. I have tons of people to spare. It's like 6%.
Dude. You know the second wave comes with an election component, right? You have to win an election during another outbreak.
No, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, because look, if I helped everyone avoid the second wave, don't they just think I'm awesome and they're going to love me?
Maybe not, because you did kill 300,000 of them.
No, I didn't kill anyone. The virus did. Anyway, I don't think they'll remember it anyway. Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. I just got an alert from the game.
Is that the second wave starting? Is it starting now?
Hold on. It says it's an alien invasion. Dude, this game is so tight. I am so glad I gave all my cops tanks.
Okay, and that was it. That was our radio play.
We did it.
I hope you laughed as much as we laughed while we were doing it.
I'm gonna win. I'll say that.
Yeah.
That confidence.
You'd be surprised, Danny, what you can accomplish with like an obscene amount of undue confidence. All right, so that brings us to Does that bring us to our last segment?
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. Okay, let's give this a roll.
Dice of Destiny.
Okay, Dice of Destiny is this cool little game we play at the end of every episode. We like to roll a 20-sided dice with 20 different game genres assigned to it. We roll a 6-sided dice to see how much money we can spend on the game, and then finally we roll a dice to see who has to find a game for that genre and that price, pick it, play it, review it. Peterson recently rolled what was I don't remember what the category was for this one. Backlog game, which is the coolest, and I think the one that everyone wants to roll is backlog.
Yeah.
Because every time you roll something that's not backlog, it adds something to the backlog. And you decided to play The Last of Us. You didn't finish it last week, and you'd only played a couple hours, so I wanted you to play more before you gave it a full review. So let's hear your Last of Us review, Peterson.
Yeah, so I will start this off by saying I'm still not done with the game, but I think I'm past the halfway point. If I went and looked at like the chapters and chapter lengths and stuff like that, and I'm past the halfway point. So I put in a bunch of time in this game. I did get stuck on a couple segments, which is the worst when I'm like really trying to knock out a game and I keep dying to the same freaking sniper guy shooting at me. But so yes, I played The Last of Us, the first one. Obviously, I played the first Last of Us. Okay, so I'm sure you're all familiar with this game, but if you're not, this is a game that takes place in a zombie apocalypse type of scenario. You are playing as a middle-aged gentleman named Joel, and you end up being the
middle-aged gentleman.
Actually, he's not a gentleman. A middle-aged kind of scumbag.
Middle-aged dirtball named his Joel.
It's a whole genre, sad dads.
There you go.
Yes. Sad post-apocalyptic dads. Hey, Peterson, you're going to be one of those soon.
Hey,
Yeah.
I really,
if you make it.
If I make it, that's me. That's me. I'm Joel. I will murder people without any regard for my actions.
Technically, Joel is all of our potential.
Oh, that's an optimistic way to think of it.
Joel potential. Yeah, where do you fall on the Joel scale? So you're traveling with a 14-year-old girl named Ellie, who at the start of the game, I think you have kind of a tenuous relationship. Joel is like the hesitant caregiver / guide, and Ellie is kind of the sassy 14-year-old teenage girl. And so you go through the game and you are avoiding these zombie creatures. There's a heavy stealth element to this. In fact, probably the best way to play this is stealthy. Stealthy with like you sneak up on. There's lots of hiding behind cover, and you'll sneak up to like the next piece of cover and wait for the bad guy to come walking by, and you grab him and like stab him or choke him to death. It's a very brutal game. We'll put that out there. If you are unfamiliar, it is very brutal. So you'll kill a person, then you'll hide, and then you'll kind of sneak up to the next section. If you go in guns blazing, you will die multiple times. I mean, you just will.
Yes.
You'll never
Yeah.
beat it your first time through guns blazing. You have an assortment of weapons, and it does give you enough like materials to like craft things. I didn't feel like I've had a shortage of that, but you do have a shortage of ammunition. You can't just go shooting everything you see, because 2 encounters in and you'll have no more bullets. So it's not a bullet sponge type of game. You have very little ammo because you're finding it in this post-apocalyptic, overgrown world where all the people are bad and all the zombies are trying to kill you. It's brutal. It is brutal, and the story is equally as brutal. But it also has... It's like brutal and sweet at the same time. You see the 2 characters start to trust each other, because when you start, they're strangers, right? So they start to trust each other and respect each other and grow fond of each other as you go through in kind of this a faux father-daughter relationship. And so you go through the game, and this, like I said, it's very brutal and gruesome, and bad things are happening. But also, they do a really great job in sucking you into the story to where you care about the things that are happening. The characters they introduce, you care about what happens to them. You care about your interactions. It's not a game where you just go through and you're just like, I'm going to kill everything and I'm going to march through and I'm so hardcore, because you're really not. And you rely on this girl that's with you all the time. You rely on her to help you get to places, help you solve puzzles. And she's an NPC. You're not controlling her, but you're relying on her. And so what they do well, and in fact, I have very few critiques of the game beyond that it's very brutal and I can't play it for more than like 2 hours before I'm like, I gotta take a break. Quick story about that. So I put the PlayStation in my bedroom, because this is not a game you play with kids around at all, ever. Like, I would never play this with my kids around. And so I put it in my bedroom and I play it at night, while I'm going to bed, which is fine for me. I don't have like, crazy bad dreams from it or anything like that. So I played at night before I'm going to bed. So my wife is laying there next to me on the first night, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine if you play." And I have the headphones in, so I'm not. She doesn't hear the sound. And after the first encounter, she's like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna go sleep downstairs." I'm like, "What?" And she was like, "You are like breathing heavily, then holding your breath, and you're all tense, and you're like mashing buttons and shaking the whole bed. You can't play." If someone played this game from start to finish in one sitting, they would. I'm confident they would have it if on their first playthrough. I'm confident they would have some sort of heart situation at the end of this, a heart attack, die of a broken heart. I don't know. It is heavy, but again, I see why people say this is on everyone's like must play list. You gotta play The Last of Us, and I get it. The story is so engrossing, which you don't get a lot from especially a lot of the games I play. I like roguelikes, and so usually they don't have like a deep story with them. I just play it because it's a game and I like it. I'm sucked into the story. I want to play more. I think about it. I'm sometimes hesitant to jump back in and play it. Like the other night, I was like, okay, I'm going to play. And I turned on the PlayStation and I was like, don't think I'm in the mood for this. I don't think I can do this right now.
Right.
I just been kind of tired, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm just going to watch a movie instead. And so this is it absolutely earns its score of one of the best games ever. This is a 10 out of 10. You don't even I don't like stealth games, but I still enjoy the gameplay in this.
That's what I was just going to ask, because you said you could see why it's a must-play game, but I'm pretty sure this isn't your type of game. It's definitely not my type of game.
Me
And
neither.
yet I still would say that it's a must-play game, even if you aren't into this type of game. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Well, it's because it is stealth, but there's a lot of video. There's like cutscenes. There's a lot of walking around where there's dialogue happening. It's like a mix between short bursts of like these stealth puzzle missions. And there, lots of kill. You have to kill every time there's like a mission, an encounter, they call it an encounter. But also it's like a walking sim for like the other half of the game. But you don't care because you're so into the story, and that's what a good walking sim does, right? And so it's this mix of these genres, and they mix it up just enough to where I felt like I'm not sick of it. I'm not sick of doing the stealth thing because I just had 6 or 7 minutes of walking around, looting, talking, that sort of thing as I'm walking. I'm never sitting there, standing, have a conversation. You're like always moving, and then the dialogue is happening, sort of thing. So this is a buy. This is a buy.
Buy at any price.
Yeah, if you have a PlayStation,
it's like $40 now, right? Generally,
I think so, but I feel like it always goes on sale, especially with the new one coming out. But again, it's a must play. You just have to buy it. If you have a PlayStation, you have to buy it and you have to play it. You just have to. Oh, follow up to last week. Last week I said I do not like Ellie. I can't stand her because she was like exuding that like sassy teenage girl trying to like be edgy at the beginning. She was just constantly kind of being obnoxious. And
no one likes interacting with a 14-year-old girl.
Nobody.
No one likes it.
or right. A 14-year-old
even other
boy for that matter.
14.
Ooh.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Early.
I don't
teens,
want any part of you between 10 and 20. Just don't even exist. Send you to a fucking island. You come back when you're normal.
Come back when your brain works again. Because
you were such a sweet kid, and then you turned into this demon that lives in my house for a decade.
Dude, this is my life.
Really wish I could have the nice kid back.
Yep. Thanks for describing my life. And that's why you have multiple kids, because once one goes into those teenage years,
few
you're
sweet
like,
ones.
I still have the young sweet ones. This is
Dude,
fine.
Peterson, but what about when when your oldest is like 18, your life is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm going to start drinking. That's
my plan. That is my retirement plan. I'm going to pick up a drinking habit.
So I didn't like Ellie. Now that, and I maybe feel like they did this on purpose. This was a smart move by them. Now that your character that you're playing, Joel, is starting to warm up to Ellie, and you guys are like warming up to each other, your interactions are more positive, and I'm liking her more. Right? She's not annoying anymore. She's a little bit like more helpful. Her dialogue's better. She's not so sassy and moody all the time. And I think that was a gameplay decision. You start off like, oh my gosh. And that's how Joel feels. He's not stoked about having her along. Right? And so I think they did it on purpose. If not, it was a lucky move that they did. But it feels like they did it on purpose. And I like her more now. I don't hate her. How about that?
Okay, that's good. That's kind of why I wanted you to play, because I was like, I feel like there's this disconnect that you haven't gotten enough into the characters, like development, to see where they're going. Right. So I'm glad you dug it. That means we have a re-roll. Danny, I assume you want to play with us?
I do.
Okie doke. So we have a dice roller on Google. Sorry, guys. Life sucks. So we will start with a D20, and we got a 16. What is 16? RTS.
Ooh.
Sick.
Okay,
So
okay.
RTS is off, and unfortunately, Walking Simulator is now back on the docket.
Hey, there was a couple
okay.
good walking simulators announced recently by good studios who have done good walking sims. So
There's
I
some
don't know.
very
By the
good
time we get it,
out.
yeah. By the time we get it, we might be, might be ready. So
The last time we did a walking sim, do you remember what I played?
yes, you played Firewatch.
Firewatch.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Firewatch.
I loved 95% of Firewatch.
That's fair. That's
and
what
I
everyone does.
hated the last 5%
Yep.
of it.
Yep, that's also fair. That's also fair.
It made me so fucking sad. Okay, so that means we need to roll 6-sided dice to see how much to spend on it, and that gives us a 2, so $20 or
Okay.
less. And
Okay.
finally, so Danny, you will be 1-2, Peterson 3-4, I will be 5-6.
Okie dokes.
It's a 6. I'm playing an RTS. Okay.
All right.
That's good. That's good for me. Okay. Sweet. All right, guys. That does it for us this week. For our outro music, we have the combat theme from Monster Sanctuary, a game I was planning to review this week, but I ran out of time. So if you want to hear my Monster Sanctuary review, you have to tune in next week. We've also got a pretty funny Be Kind Rewind for next week as well. So
listener questions. We're doing
shit.
listener questions coming up soon. Maybe we'll do that next week. But we put those out there. If you have a question, submit it to Facebook, Discord, Twitter, email, whatever.
Or get on
Find us
3bitgamershow.com and leave us a voicemail so you can hear your own voice on the show. We would love that. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. I'm JD, logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK.
And Danny saying BRB?
Peterson Productions. Oh yeah.